Can we talk about it uphill, downhill a little bit?
Sure. Why not?
Well, yeah, because some folks don't understand. I don't have my pocket knife out, but if you had a pocket knife and you wanted to carve something and you started going uphill to make the carving, what would you see? It would just splinter and pop up, wouldn't it? And take that rudimentary definition of it. If you go against the grain, by going downhill on an uphill cut, you are opening up the grain of the wood. And all wood is a structure. God puts it together, and he stacks them all together again. And if you slice it off, thank you, Mark Sloy, if you slice it off, then you realize you're slicing with the grain. It's like paring a tree or cutting a branch or carving something. You're carving, you're slicing. If you go the other way, you just get the bristles standing up. And you've seen that, rub the carpet the wrong way and see that stripe. Yeah, for those who still have carpet and still vacuum it, go the wrong way in the middle of the carpet and have the wife say, "Oh, what do you do over there?" You know, because you see the hair stand up differently. Well, that happens when you're turning uphill, downhill, uphill, downhill. Um,
There's
I
an
work,
interesting caveat to that, Eddie. I I mean, if you've got the grain along the bed of the lathe, you're turning spindle and the grain is along the bed of the lathe, then downhill is basically larger diameter to smaller diameter, right? Because you're slicing supported fibers and you're going downhill. Now,
that
what's
would be a
interesting
great.
is
Unless
what's
it's just
interesting is
in grain.
right, but you still want to go downhill because so that the fibers are supported, so you don't lift the fibers while you're turning, right? So,
That's
but
about
that
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
just
then
like
you
here.
but right, but
Got to go
then you
down
watch
this way to cut. If you go this way, all you're going to get's rough. If you go this way, it'll be smooth.
right, but then you watch
But then
some of the top folks who are turning bulls, and they're turning side grain bulls, and they're not going from smaller diameter to or large diameter, smaller diameter. They're going the other direction. But if you think about it, how the grain is oriented, side grain, they're still coming across supported fibers, slicing supported fibers. They're not turning against the fibers to lift them up. They're coming down, turning supported
there's
fibers. So
right.
it's an
There's
interesting sort
always
of
there's
discussion to
always a
have.
caveat. There's always a caveat. If you can get your tool, if you got your tool tilted at the right angle, even going uphill, what would be against the grain, you're actually cutting supported fibers.
Yeah, and I think that is the key, is to understand how the fibers work. So I think it's a worthy discussion to have. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I,
Um,
I
um,
heard. I don't have my sound effects, but when Dane said what he said just a minute ago, if I could play it back, I'd play it back. But he said it, and don't miss it, folks. He said, if you turn the tool right and you make the cut properly, you will change that whole theory.
Correct.
He's right. It's how you use the tool. If you chop at it, it's going to be a chop. If you have oh boy, manipulated the tool, I can do that. It's like aluminum. I can say it. Uh, if you manipulate the tool the way you can make a slice and still manage not to raise the fiber and destroy the fiber, but to slice it off, you changed the rule. But you did change the method of attack. And that is very critical. And I've been saying it for 20 years. If you just pay attention to how your tool works, you can throw some of those old adages away and say, before somebody says you can't do that, that before you say you can't do that, watch how it's done.
Right.
I agree that most of the time it's baked a little, compression cuts. I haven't heard anybody use that term compression cuts in a long time. Most people have gotten down because they want to sell tools or techniques. and instead and tools and systems rather than technique.
Mhm.
But it is mainly it is the use of the tool. That's why we talk here, folks. It's you the loose nut on the end of the handle. That's right here. Um, if you can snug that down a little bit and realize that this just right here, this can make all the difference in the world as to how that tool works.
Yeah. Tool presentation is key.
So key, and you can work yourself to death. I mean, if you can imagine cutting up, I used to love to do cowboy hats. I did, and I was turning one at a meeting one time. The guy said, "How can you turn that? I mean, look at that thing that you were doing." I said, you don't turn this. You turn a little bit of ribbons." And in 2 minutes, I was turning ribbons. I never went to the big block. Never went to it. Always worked at the ribbons. Why? The rest of it was that was too much work. It'll go away. It's just what I didn't need. We'll get rid of it. But if you let that, I got to get rid of it. I got to run the marathon full blast from the starting line. That's the problem. So we talk uphill, downhill. Think about how much we're not young. Think about how much effort and energy goes into when we cut and the efficiency of our cuts.